that I have everything set up here so that it's going through the speaker all right. Well, again, welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Kurt Fisnick, and I'm up here in Fargo, North Dakota. I've got Tom Mower. We've actually got him on the phone speaking just because we had some technical difficulties getting him on. But welcome to the call. This is the Sisel World Team call, and we do this every week. Tonight we have a special guest, Tom Mower Sr., and two-time Genius Award winner, and I'm guessing you've probably written thousands of formulations. You've probably got hundreds of patents, co-founder of Sisel International. You know, and Tom, typically on the first Friday of every month, what we talk about is we talk about, you know, why Sisel? Why are we in Sisel? What's the importance? Why are we here and not somewhere else? But the other thing we try and focus on is we try and focus on really what's your purpose. You know, like I tell people a long time ago, I realized that that my purpose was to help people get healthy and to help them live pain-free lives. And so when I came across Sisel and I saw that your mission was really similar to mine, I knew right away that that this is where I needed to be, and this is where I was going to be for the rest of my life. And you know, for those of you that don't know Tom, those of you that are just getting on, the one thing that I can say about Tom is that, you know, I've spent some time with him on a personal level when we've gone on hunting fishing and hunting trips, and he gets up early and gets right to work. He's dedicated to that, and usually he's working right up until the end, and I like that. You know, you go to most companies of this size, of this caliber, and the owner's nowhere to be found. You won't find them. You won't see them being part of like a Friday night call like this. There's just no way. And Tom, I remember I was working on a farm. It was actually my last job when I decided I wasn't going to work for anybody anymore. It was when I was going to college. I was picking up these summer jobs, working on farms. And this guy I worked for, he had a large farming operation up here in North Dakota, and he would come out to the field where we were all working, and he would be driving his brand new pickup, sitting there in his sparkling, shiny new clothes, eating an ice cream cone while the rest of us were out getting dirty and working. And I just thought, you know, that's not the kind of guy that I want to work with. So Tom, I really appreciate that you're not that guy. Although I have seen you eat an ice cream cone once in a while. But Tom, I'm going to hand the microphone over to you and just let you talk about what you want to talk about tonight.
All right. Well, I'm happy to be there. And yeah, you're right. The nice thing about this business is it's based on people. And we look at people as people, not as a commodity, as virtually most MLMs and companies that are selling products do. If you think of the world as it lies right now, there's a lot of products. You can get so much that's at your fingertips, which is good, which is bad, which isn't anything. And all of it, you can pay an exorbitant amount of money or a small amount of money, and the results you'll get are generally little or nothing. In cosmetics, that's especially true. And they look at how much they sell at different stores, at different markets, and how many customers have. And yet they will do things and put in their products very harmful, toxic, potentially harmful, cancer-causing ingredients, or carcinogenic, potentially cancer-causing, without a thought. They have chemists that know better. They know what it is, but they've used them for a long time, and they like the way they mix up and the way the formula works. But about 60% of what you put on your skin goes into your blood system and travels throughout your whole body. And now we're starting to show a lot of that just recently. That goes back to why Sisel, and why Sisel for me. It started as a business venture a number of years ago. I'd been an industrial chemist and had done a lot of things with that, but I'd found a product to grow hair. And so I started to market it and found out you couldn't advertise it grew hair. but people that grew hair could tell other people. And so I had a bunch of people after me because I was testing it on individuals, and then companies started coming after me because they wanted me to private label it for them. So I did. That's how I got my experience. In doing so, a couple of things happened to me. I never had been a distributor in network marketing and had all of the misconceptions that bad publicity gets to network marketing. I hadn't seen the other side. Now that I have, and I saw that, I decided I was going to go into it because I liked it, because it could do two things. Number one, the products that people were buying were inferior. Number two, you could make products that were vastly superior to them. And number three, you could work with and drive behavior with individual distributors and other people, and you can do it on a sort of a one-to-one basis, but you do it in groups and calls and things like that. So I like that communication that was there that you don't get from an ad in a magazine with that. And so this fourth thing was that I looked at my hair shampoo. When I was going to make a product grow hair, I thought I'd better have a hair shampoo. And as I looked at my hair shampoo, it was, for me, being a chemist, it was like a wax museum of horrors where you go through and you see one monster after another after another. And that's what it was. I realized as I looked at her, I thought my wife would know about, or she would buy, and of course I trusted her judgment on those kinds of things. Guys don't think about it. But it, first of all, it had brake fluid in it, and then it had industrial antifreeze. And then it had the ingredient that I made slaughterhouse floor cleaning compounds, because it breaks down tissue and fat and blood. And it had a number of different potential cancer-causing carcinogenic ingredients. Now, if that wasn't enough, it contained the foaming agent in it, which almost all shampoos do. Use a particular one. It's called ethoxylated. It's also in every toothpaste that you use. And with it is one of the most dangerous cancer-causing ingredients. Not the most, but one of the most. And it's in the form of 1,4-dioxane. It's not even listed on the label, but if the ingredient's in it, that's a tramp ingredient that gets made as it's processed, and so you start loading lots of those. Now today, this whole circle is coming all the way around, because what we see is breast cancer week is just over, and with that there's a huge volume of people and organizations and everyone that is getting involved in breast care, or breast cancer care and treatment and cure if possible. And yet, if you go back to about 100, 150 years ago, you had a chance of 1 in 8,000 of getting breast cancer. Now today you have a chance of 1 in 8. So that's stunning. The change since the beginning of mankind up to about 100, 150 years ago was 1 in 8,000 your chance of getting cancer. And so now it's breast cancer. Now cancer, which used to be extremely rare, they went to the University of Manchester and examined over 10,000 mummies clear around the world to see what their afflictions was that they had from ancient times right up through our times. And they found, after examining 10,000 mummies, only one had cancer. Only one. So their conclusion, which they published, was cancer is a man-made disease. And by and large, it really is. Because just like this 1,4-dioxane, bad thing about it, it's 400 times more stimulatory than estrogen. 400 times more. And what makes it even worse is it's not broken down by the liver, so it just keeps accumulating in the body, so it doesn't get broken down to be recycled. And where does it accumulate? Right in breast tissue. It's a lipid material. It's fat loving. It binds to it, and you get more and more and more of it. Now, I'm just telling you how I'm prefacing this and how I got into this. So when I saw that, and I saw some cancer research, and it says one thing that is common with every cancer cell, and science did not know why, it was, or if it was just coincidentally there. But every single breast cancer cell has two compounds in it. They're both carcinogens. One is parabens, the other is 1,4-dioxane. Now, there can be a lot of other things too, but every breast cancer cell, without exception, has that. And I looked at this, and we're still on shampoo. Then I looked at the ingredient, and they used it for denaturing proteins to test irritation on skin, and it was in hair shampoo. There was a study showing it keeps children's eyes from developing properly and gives adults cataracts. And it can create cardiovascular problems, including heart attack, and the list goes on and on. That's all in hair shampoo. So I was sort of like a revivalist. I believe in God, of course, but I was like this born again because I've been in industrial chemical. I had my nose to the grindstone, and I knew lots about industrial chemicals and products. I'd formulated, Doc's right, I've formulated thousands of them. And but I saw it very easy in the industry of industrial chemicals that it wasn't difficult to make a product that was vastly superior to all your competition, because they take the middle road and they do the smallest amount to get by, to be competitive with what they have. And everything is oriented around profits, more so than even performance, especially in skincare. And so when I saw that, I thought, I'm not going to use this shampoo. I definitely don't want my family, my children, to be using this shampoo. So I made some up. This is surfactant chemistry. And I had a lot of different types of surfactants, and I knew what they were. And I just went in my lab and sat down and made some different iterations, and then passed them around to see which they liked, and did some modifications and added a fragrance to it and added a little bit of color to it. And everyone was raving about the hair shampoo. But it's hair shampoo, it's toxin-free, but we had to inform people. But my philosophy on this is why Sisel? Because my conscience wouldn't allow me to make products that would have harmful ingredients, and even though it costs a lot less to make those cheap ingredients into a formulation than the expensive ones that are not, but they're high performance. So my moral code, my personal conviction, would not allow me to do it. And I thought, now how are people going to know? Nobody can read a label on shampoo. And on the conditioner, it was just as bad. Bath and shower gel, just as bad. It went on and on with all of these. And then I looked on skin creams and holy moly, did they have a lot of things in it, including the plastic in the bottles these cosmetics are put in contain all kinds of toxins, and because the liquids or solvents, they absorb it out into the product itself. So when you use any of these products, you're lathering your body with toxins and potentially harmful, carcinogenic ingredients that can damage not just your skin or your eyes or your hair and down into the follicles, and they also cause hair loss. The common ingredient used in hair shampoo, there's been two big studies, University of Helsinki and in Germany, and they showed by using this, people had, they would lost hair twice as fast because of that, and their total count of hair follicles went down, at least hair growing out. So it told me one thing. I wouldn't do this, and people should know it, but they got to be educated, and you'd never do it off media or an infomercial or any type of advertising. You've got to put things down on. You have to have people that are dedicated to tell others, because you can put it out all day, maybe somebody reads it, and then that's the end of it. So that this is the second phase of why I was in Sisel, is that I realized that profit, making money, having a business, it could be tied into this very easily. Because I was a manufacturer and debt-free and had a big plant, I could make these products at the lowest cost of operation. So while I make products for other companies, I mark them up about 4 times as much money, put their label on it. We do private label. We'll build their own products for them, and they sell them. But what happens to that 400% markup that's there? Well, that's mine. So what I can do with that is, instead of using the cheap, potentially harmful ingredients, non-performing ingredients, except in the negative way, the cons greatly outweigh the pros. And so with that, I can put all that into products and use and spend that much more money and buy the very best ingredients, use them, not a fairy dusting, but a maximum therapeutic dose or effect that works. And I looked throughout, and I knew this to be true from industrial chemicals, and I had no experience in dietary supplements or skincare. But I was a little naive, and then I realized that this is universal, this type of thing and the way of making products and doing these kinds of things. Nothing was done as good as it could be. Everything was done to the minimal amount that they thought they needed in order to do something. And so I thought, we're being swindled, and these drug companies are abusing us. And I came out, I'm reading a study, and this is 30 years ago, and it said talc causes endometrial cancer, ovarian cancer with it. And I thought, and baby powder. And so, and it's in cosmetics too, blushers and all those kinds of things. And so, because it's very similar to the deadly asbestos molecule, almost structurally identical to it. And so I blasted that, put it out to everyone. It was on newspapers. I actually got a full-page ad in USA Today and talked about all of that, showing it to people. But the effect was, there were some that came, some that were interested, but you really had to have a business model to drive it. Well, for mission-driven, and I was in business to make money, just like you are with your distributorship. But through any manufacturer, they have a chain of distribution, and they have upper management, presidents. There's a president, a CEO, then there's a bunch of vice presidents, then there's a bunch of department managers and regional managers and district managers, right down to the stores themselves with the managers, the salespeople, and the maintenance, all of that. Well, all that cost has to be passed on. So when you look at that, there's a lot of margins there. And so if you take a product that costs, if I make a product for somebody for $1, they'll be selling it for anywhere from $10 to $20. That's the kind of markup they work on. So that's about what they're looking for in ingredients with a lot of these types of things. And I couldn't do it. I thought, I just can't operate that way. So the nice thing about network marketing is that I had a debt-free company. I knew how to run sales and business and marketing. So I developed this so that I could put them all together, spectacular products, no harmful ingredients with it. And then I showed it to distributors and gave them materials. My business grew and grew and grew. And then before year 2000, that's $1 billion a year company. So that's pretty huge, from nothing, from never been in network marketing, because enough people caught on to it, used the products long enough for many of them. Some just, they don't have the conviction, don't believe, and they take the easy way out. But there were so many that really cared and really did, and when they saw and they knew, they had no other choice in their mind but to use ours, because everything else, virtually everything, is highly contaminated. So that gave me a good model to go on. And then I started looking for, if people started hitting me up on skincare. Well, if you got something to grow hair, what do you have for skincare? I didn't know anything about skincare, but I went to the research long before the internet, and I found an ingredient out of being tested at the University of Concepcion in Santiago, Chile, that would remove wrinkles. No one in the world was using it. It was Herman oil, rosa mosquito that grew high on the slopes of the Andes, and yet they were taking skin ulcers and burns and existing scarring and raw tissue, and it was healing scar-free and like new because of it. Quite an amazing discovery. So at that time, you just didn't call South America. I called for about a month, and then finally somebody answered the phone. No one was answering. And when they answered it, they answered me in Chinese, and all that time I'd been calling to China rather than down there. But that's part of what goes on in business. At least I'm trying to do it. I found the right ways for the right time. So if you're not succeeding and having all the success you want, what do? Try other things. The only time you're going to be defeated is if you quit. If you keep going, you're definitely going to get ahead. You're going to get more experience. You're going to be able to do more. But now the important thing, if you'll look at this now, we're really into momentum, and we're growing very, very fast again. We've got the products out right now that are going to be a number of about 4 or 5 of them, each one could build $1 billion company, and we've got them all with what we're doing. So it's pretty sensational. It's more than that. It's spectacular. We have no competition in the world anywhere like us. And just this last year, they just to validate what I've been saying, dietary supplements were investigated. It actually came out of a legal lawsuit. But out of those lawsuits and things like that, like the one with baby powder, now 30 years later, Johnson & Johnson is losing cases for hundreds of millions of dollars because they've accepted, they've proven in court that it caused, the talc caused ovarian cancer and endometrial cancer. Well, my God, they knew it 30 years ago. It's just that nobody was holding their feet to the fire, and now some people have come through and sued. So what have they done? Are they trying to make a baby powder? I made one. It was easy to do out of cornstarch. No toxins, and it was just as nice. With it costs a little more, but well worth doing if you're going to have a baby powder. And we may bring that back at some time. And we use those kind of things in our color cosmetics when we had them because it wouldn't use talc. So now they have these hundreds of millions of dollar losses in lawsuits, and they're still making the product with the talc in it. And I'm told the reason that they're continuing to do it is the profits are so great, it greatly exceeds the damages they're having to pay out in these cases, which they can stretch out for years. So it makes good business sense just to keep selling this cancer-causing ingredient that people unknowingly thinking the baby powder, oh, talc, it would be so nice. You think asbestos would be so nice as a baby powder? Well, this is almost an identical molecule to it. So when I saw things like that, and I realized I'm a moralist, I believe in doing good and doing the right thing and choosing the right. And so in doing that, I thought I could be a big part in my life. It can be much more, and I've always had in some indications this way. But I thought I can be a big part in helping maybe millions, maybe even tens of millions of people to become happier, healthier, and wealthier by what I could do, because I was willing to sacrifice the things that companies would want to keep for themselves to make the distributors in the field successful. So that's how it came all about with me, with a lot of other war stories that go with it. And I've been to Russia, 60, 80 times. I've been to Australia that many times, and New Zealand, and Japan probably 40, 50 times, 20 times the time. I've been to lots of places, traveling all over the world to pass this mission around, because it affects everybody on planet Earth. And for that, there's some companies that are saying, oh, they have non-toxic products because they don't use this and this and this. But if you look at the other ingredients, it shows you that either they don't know or they think people are too naive or dumb, right. Which many are, that they won't understand these other ingredients because they haven't had the publicity of being harmful. So as I saw this kind of thing happening, is I realized somebody has to be there. It only takes one man, one woman to have an idea, and if it's a good one, and to drive it, and it can be world-changing. We've seen that with lots of people and companies. And look at Bill Gates, and look at Apple. One time, Bill Gates was working out of his basement, and the founder of Apple, Steve Jobs, he had a garage set up where he's doing electronics and that. So one person, one idea, and if you have put attitude and effort with that, if you have the right attitude and you apply the effort, you can overcome all obstacles. That doesn't mean that there won't be obstacles. What I said is you can overcome all obstacles. But then as we come into this, I like the business here because I could also expose these things, show people. We should have the right to know to choose to use products that are good for us. And so I thought I can really do a lot of good help to people with that. And if they have these kind of products with that, then they have spectacular performing products. A wrinkle cream that actually removes wrinkles. For instance, the cellulite cream, I developed the cellulite cream that would remove cellulite with it. So and many other things. But with that, I've made some tremendous discoveries out of China, went there, ancient formulations for modern times. And so I found these ancient formulations, and before internet and everything, I went into the interior of China before in many places they had never seen an American. And it was everybody I went in town, in stores, were all looking at me. And I was in there meeting with them. The Army ran everything, man. So I had negotiations going on with the Chinese Army because they were over all industry. In fact, as the Minister of Defense in China became a very good friend of mine. So the ambassador was here, and so their international vice president, I guess, of trade came here and saw me all the time. So isn't that amazing how you can do it? Because that's a kid off the farm. I grew up with nothing. We didn't have money, but it didn't bother me. But now that I've gotten to the point, I see, the love of money. A lot of people say that about people on network marketing. They're just crazy about money. Yeah, a lot are. And I'm crazy about money too, because the reason why is the love of money is what the problem is. But if you realize that with money, you can do a lot of good. So the evil part is the love of money if you're possessed with it. So I'm not. I want to make money. I want to have a prosperous life and that of my family. Fortunately, God's blessed me with the resources, the time, the desire to go out and to offer this to you. And so there's a saying, lead, follow, or get out of the way. And so we're putting that role in. Some of you can lead. All of you can follow. Those that can't, get out of the way, because we're marching on to tremendous success in what we're doing. And it becomes, unlike other companies, our success is with a spectacular, very highly rewarding, fair, easy to qualify compensation plan that is fortified with the greatest products the world has never seen before. They've never seen a shampoo like ours. And I go back to the beginning. But now we're talking skin care and hair care, and then went after a health product in China. It was called, they called it Virgin Mother's Milk. And it was because it brought the immune system up to that of a newborn baby. It took me about 20 years to be able to find sources and get it and to buy it came out of a seaweed, and they would make it and refine it. I don't know how the Chinese figured this out thousands of years ago, but you could take it and your immune system was just jump-started, so that's why they call it Virgin Mother's Milk. I went over and got it, and eventually it led to the product we have called Fucoid, which is, just fantastic. Doesn't even count for what Fucoid is. And so now we've gone on to other great discoveries. TSX extends your telomere. People say, well, if you take TSX, studies showing you should live 20, 25 years longer. Yeah, that's true, because there's a lot of other things impeding it. If telomere length determines your life, then why are you, even though you get an extra 20 or 25 years out of it, why is it that we're going to die, and why isn't it extended greatly beyond that? And that's because there are many other things involved in doing it. So in going through, I've developed products. Now came Eternity. It's the first one to really extend life by turning on the genes that grew you, that become dormant, and so your metabolism starts to slow down in your body. And now here you can take resveratrol and have all that happening. So I looked at that, and then eventually it's led me up to where I knew they were going to work. Did some work that I followed on Harvard Medical School. We said somebody had gone on to this, and Dr. David Sinclair is a brilliant person. He heads the research and development department there for Harvard Medical School. They're testing a product now, and he calls it the immortality pill. And it uses an ingredient that makes NAD, which is, if you don't know yet, that's the molecule of life. Without it, we wouldn't last 30 seconds. But with it, we can be vibrant, healthy, and without it, as it deteriorates, we become more unhealthy, we age faster, damage accumulates, all kinds of things accumulate in our body and deterioration. So we're aging. So the philosophy with Dr. Sinclair was, and they said, they had an article, Time magazine. It said the mystical fountain of youth, or the fountain of youth was a mystical water, but it really does exist, but it's a molecule. And then they went on about Dr. Sinclair's. It's a great one. They haven't brought it out yet. It'll cost you a couple $1,000s a month, I believe, when they get it out. But they're making it into a pharmaceutical with that. And you can't believe there's, I think there's 5 or 6 Nobel Prize winners that are all part of the team, and they're on the upper management. And you know what? They're Nobel Prize winners, so significant discoveries they've made in their life, but they didn't make this one. They've just jumped on the bandwagon because they get paid for their name and be, oh man, this is developed by 5 or 6 Nobel Prize winners in medicine. No, that is not the case. Dr. Sinclair is the one that developed it, and it goes back there. And the thing he was on to before he was, perhaps, maybe not before he was born, but anyone who was a child, I was already on that. Just it was evolving as knowledge and science and research allowed it to do. So now here we are. We have the age pill. When we look at the stem cell, it's like the chicken that lays the eggs. As the chicken gets older, it lays less eggs, and pretty soon, hardly at all, and then it dies because it's aging. So the thing that stuck in my mind is, and especially from what Dr. Sinclair said, is he called it the immortality pill. He said it repairs damage just about as fast as it happens, and now we can send a ship to Mars where nobody would come back because the solar radiation is unstoppable and kill everybody that went to Mars. But now you can send it because this will support the body's ability to repair this damage. Well, maybe we're not going to Mars, but I can tell you this, we're off to the moon when it comes to success with what we're doing. So I took a look at this thing as a whole, and it's all for creating NAD, the molecule, in regular cells, but most cells are disposable. Like they have a lifetime, and then they wear out, and they're discarded, and they're replaced, and skin gets replaced every 30 to about 120 days in older skin. It's totally replaced. Things like heart and liver, maybe 3 to 5 years. Other places, a year or less. Muscle, maybe a year. Has to be replaced at a rate that is equal to that which is deteriorating that you're naturally using, and you're naturally losing. And by doing that, if you can accomplish that, you basically ended aging. And so we figured out how to do that, but we wanted to go beyond that. And so I wrote an article on the death of aging. And in it, of course, some of this is other scientists' discoveries and things that I've picked up on, cloned on, thought about, made my own varieties. But aging is it's not living long. Aging is not even a biological condition. It's a matter of physics. And so think of that. You might want to write that one down. You think aging is a biological condition? Absolutely not. It's a matter of physics. And what happens is things decay, just like steel rusts, on the same exact principle within our bodies. And so as we're decaying, then diseases at certain points kick in, like cancer or diabetes or all kinds of things, because our body is deteriorated to that point. So if we can end the decay, what have we done? You're going to live longer, you're going to be healthier, but where are you in life? If you're down to getting between 50 and 60 years old, the better part of your life is gone, and the rest of it is going to be deterioratingly worse to the last 10 years for most people. Are so miserable, people are wishing they were dead. But the second factor is that if you end decay, then the problem is you're degenerating cells. You're not producing them as fast as they're dying. And just like the chicken, as it gets older, lays more eggs, the stem cells do the same thing. They start wearing out. By the time you're 20, you've lost, from birth, they're very viable and they grow you, but you're down to about 80% effectiveness from them at age 20. But by age 30, just 10 years later, because all the growth factors got turned off are turned down when you're growing up to age 20, but by age 30, you've only got 40% activity. You've lost 50% in 10 years. And then by the time you're 60, they estimate you're somewhere around 2 to 5% activity in stem cells. Well, I mean, what we've done is we killed the flock of chickens, and there's only a few left laying eggs, so to speak, with that. So this discovery was really viable because we could address the stem cell. One thing that happens to slow down stem cell activity is NAD production goes down, and that's the miracle molecule, the mortality molecule. But it goes down for a number of reasons. So while Harvard Medical School is just working on doing that, and a couple of others are, the science is far beyond that, because the stem cells are the little factory, and if we can make them produce more cells than you lose every day, wherever your life is on that slippery slope you're going down to death, wherever your life is, it doesn't have to go on. And it'd be nice if it even level out, but if you increase more cells than what you're losing, in my opinion, it's utterly impossible for you not to grow younger, bigger, stronger, more healthier. It's a matter of physics. So if we're talking about NAD decay and increasing generation above degeneration, you've ended aging. Now you have a marvelous thing to go through into the stem cell, but stem cells get worn out and they get full of cellular garbage sludge, and it's called lipofuscin, and that builds up and it inhibits all the biological processes. It's like oil in your car engine. If it got so like Vaseline or so greasy, you can hardly get anything to function in it. And it's that way within the cells. They get all full of this because they take in a lot of nutrients to make new cells. Imagine how many, and all the biological processes, and then the waste discarded, but a certain amount of it is not. And some of it, which is oil soluble, they stick together. And so you build up this sludge, and the cell starts to shrink. It turns brown, and from being clear, even the nucleus does it. So that's a big factor. And they've been saying, well, until you can find out how to remove lipofuscin, you're really not going to have a product that can greatly extend lifespan. Robert De Grey himself, if you know who that was, said that. Well, I read his book, and I said, how can he say this? Because there are discoveries made that can remove lipofuscin or support the body, not the products do. The body has its own process to do it. If you give these nutrients to it, you can remove the lipofuscin. And so I investigated and found them, added them into the H film. So now we can produce large amounts of NAD, and we can remove the sludge so it functions better, and it will self-repair itself if you give it the support ingredients, the precursors to those biological activities. The third and final major factor in cell aging of stem cells is the glycation. It's like you don't brush your teeth at night, you wake up in the morning anyway, either way, and you have plaque or tartar on your teeth. Well, that's because of oxidation. You have sugar, you have sugary foods and things you eat like that. Bacteria feed on it, they oxidize it to get energy. The residue that's left is the plaque on your teeth. Well, the same thing is happening within the stem cells and other cells. Other cells are not as important that way because they have a limited lifetime, but it is vital for stem cells. So I looked into glycation, how to remove glycation. And you don't find a single ingredient. I mean, you find a number of them, looking on different powers, different ways that they work, abilities, and I blended them together. So I have a blend now that can support the stem cell to remove glycation. Glycation is like a sticky film that coats the proteins and all the surfaces within the cell, and then it starts to harden. And when it does, it caramelizes, they say. And if you take a look at your age of skin, particularly on where do you get more skin age? It's on your face, your throat, your arms, your hands especially. Why? Because it gets more UV light, and it can't keep up with that bombardment, and you build up the lipofuscin and glycation. You're heavily glycated. If you want to live longer and you want to have better skin, avoid sugar with it. I'm a health care scientist, but I'm not a health food nut. I want to have things be done that are proven. And so as a result, we know how to remove glycation. We know how to increase NAD. We know how to remove lipofuscin. And we've got the single greatest product the world has never had before. And that's our product that's out, and you have no competition with it. There is not a single MLM in the world that is doing it. We are, and we're going worldwide with it. The smell opportunity, that's what this is. This is the kinds of things that I'm doing with it. Now I'm running to the end of time, so I'll just tell you, there's a lot of discoveries, but one thing, if you can improve stem cell duplication by the H pill, by supporting it with super specialized nutrients to go in for specialized biological functions that take place that are using them already, but you super feed it or force feed it, you're going to have a lot more output, a lot healthier cells, more cells being produced. And it's a hypothesis with our product because it's never been tested, but the science on the ingredient shows that. But so you have all that going, but the limiting factor is, and you don't understand these things in biology, so I'm kind of like the Greyhound bus driver, just leave the driving to us. And if you can learn a few basic things, you can be effective. Don't become a little Tom, because you're not going to be effective. People buy benefits, not features, but the features need to be there so the benefits are received, and they're not perceived benefits, they're received benefits, and that's the difference in our product with it. So if stem cells go on and on, how do they build into stem cell? How does it weave the same DNA in the replacement cells that are being discarded? How does that get woven? Well, it comes off units that only the chromosomes in stem cells have. It's called telomeres. And every time it divides, part of the telomeres are strung out so that DNA can be woven in the replacement cell, and it goes down, down, down. And it happens to be the indicator that ignites the division of the stem cell. So you can have a very healthy stem cell, but if you don't get it ignited enough, then it's still not going to produce as fast. You'll improve it by just saying something like the H pill. But if you add in TSX or brain vitality to it, you have products that support, really powerfully support, especially the TSX, telomeres. And if you do a little reading on it, it's interesting reading, but a lot of it's technical. But if you realize it, it's like it has a big track to run on. And you got the fastest car that's ever been created that can go down with a stem cell. The tracks is the TSX, or ingredient that's in our, to a lesser strength, ingredient in our brain vitality. So if you consider things like that, if you want to grow younger, live longer, what does that mean? That means the potential there, if all the things are put together. This is not a single miracle ingredient. This is, they have miracle ingredients in one after another, so to speak, in theory. But in reality, it's connecting the dots. When you connect the dots, then you develop that pathway, and you got everything back to work. If you got things back, and one thing it shows with the science in NAD, if you return it to the levels and compounds that can do it, your biological factors start operating like you're in your 20s again. And what does that mean if you're 50 or 40? It means a lot to you. If you're 60 and 70, it still means a lot to you. But the people that are 40, 50, in their 40s and 50s, you know, they have the potential now. And a few scientists, Aubrey Gray saying it, that people born today will live to be 200 to 300 years because of the science that we have and that is being developed. Well, I believe that, but I think we're right on the very cutting edge of it. I'm researching what the top researchers are doing, and I can comprehend it. And where there's a will, there's a way. And so I've got that, and I've got the way to do it. So I'm putting out these sensational products for you that have no competition. And we do a lot of private label products. I wouldn't sell any of those for you, because for the most part, they're very inadequate, in some cases worthless, but they pay to do it, so we make profit off it. It means I can put more into building better products and paying higher commissions. That's the reason to do that. But the FDA went into New York last year, and they took the 200 top-selling supplements off the shelves of Walmart, Walgreens, Costco, GNC stores, and a bunch of others. And so here was 200 different formulations for different things, and they tested them, and here's what they found. Now, and these are by the big major companies that are selling them. They found not a single one had enough of the active ingredient in it to be considered effective, a therapeutic dose. And in fact is in many of the formulations, they said it was undetectable amount. It means if you looked at their formulation, there were some put in there, but by the time you dilute it down to fillers and everything else, it was less than 1 part per million, you see? So what we're doing is just the opposite of that. They can compete against themselves with packaging and advertising. We're going to compete with you. You're the best advertiser in the world. If you believe in these products, you see them working, and you have a passion, and you'll take, if your attitude is right, and now the big component is energy, you can achieve anything you want in life, because attitude and energy overcomes all obstacles, as I said. So anyway, the last thing that I'm going to tell you, and I'll do it quick, is hydrogen. We have hydrogen water machines, and they're fabulous. And if you've seen the things I've been posting on Facebook, that is just the tip of the iceberg. But it is so dramatic. I would get on there. I would download what I put on hydrogen. There's a third-party study that was done on hydrogen, and you can use third-party studies. And so I printed it, put it up there. Any study, according to the law, you can use a study on an ingredient. You can't say the product that's using it does the same thing because it has to be tested individually. That's how Big Pharma keeps products from becoming very effective in the field. But nonetheless, you can you find one thing about hydrogen. Everything in the universe was made of hydrogen. At one time, there was only hydrogen. And so hydrogen, God, this molecule that he has his own plan, and how this thing, this universe has developed, is developing, and will develop with that, but it was all based upon the hydrogen molecule. And under things of extreme pressure and heat and time and all of that, and varying degree, massive, degrees of heat. Like, it's not like 500 degrees is hot. I mean, we're talking about like 50 million degrees. And so those kinds of things will take hydrogen, and it forms it. You have neurons in it, and they will turn around and from the nucleus, and they will become part of other products. So what's a gold made up of? Well, mostly hydrogen, silver, lead, zinc, calcium, any of these things, all made up of that. Now, that's a quick overview because I'm really running over, and I'll finish this fast. But all life on Earth exists because of sunlight. What is the sunlight that does it? It's the big burst of hydrogen that comes from the sun. The sunlight, everything is hydrogen that's being emitted, and it goes to helium, then it gives a big blast to the Earth of hydrogen, then it retracts to helium, and it's just doing it within seconds or milliseconds, back and forth, and so this big burst of hydrogen with all different types of life forms and things go on comes down to Earth. Plants have adapted or developed to take those photons that come down, and they turn around and take them, and they convert them from solar energy to chemical energy, and it gets changed in different forms of chemical energy, and then that chemical energy and other things are used for structure or for function, all of that, and that's the way it is. And then here we come along, we eat plants or we eat animals, and we're taking in that hydrogen that's part of meat or celery or whatever it is that you're eating with it taken into your body. And so it goes through and makes all these things. But then it comes down to the point of where this hydrogen molecule is so intensely powerful that, the hydrogen bomb, there's nothing that can nearly create the energy of a hydrogen bomb. It's the same thing in your cell, but you're down on the molecular basis. So in your cell, it takes it, and then it is the step, NAD creates ATP, and out of that it releases biological hydrogen, as they call it. It's there all the time. It just gets processed, chemical energy, and then released. And when that's released, then you have an incredible thing. It is converted into electrical energy. We are the entity. We run on electricity. Our brain runs on If you didn't have an electrical charge, you'd be a pile of ash, just like that. So this hydrogen from the sun goes all the way through, then gets converted back into pure hydrogen, which forms electrical energy, which drives our body. So I brought out a hydrogen water machine. They're expensive. I understand best technology. Now I've gone to it and I have developed, which will be out before Thanksgiving, a hydrogen powder when you can put it into a glass or a bottle of water, and it will give you 15 to 30 times more hydrogen than even the hydrogen machine can do it. It's a little sachet. You can slip it in your pocket. The purse is very small. It's like a stick, and maybe not as long as your finger even, or any bigger in diameter than it. And you just take that with you and just put it in. You stir it up a little bit. If it's a bottle, you seal the top up because it's hydrogen. And you've seen Doc Biz on his video, perhaps. And you start seeing streams of hydrogen come up, streams of oxygen coming up. Why? Because these compounds are breaking down the water molecule. That's the science that I've developed on this. And water is H2O. So if you split the oxygen off it, you have O1. And it wants to pair, so it finds another free oxygen, and it becomes O2, which is the same form of oxygen that we breathe. And then hydrogen is already there together, and it will pair to itself. So you have now, from what was water, which is more of a medium, now you have two powerful biological entities that are creating the oxidation, the oxygen, to oxidize and release the energy, and the hydrogen, which has the energy within it, and marvelous things start happening. And because hydrogen is the smallest atom and molecule, it goes through every cell in your body. And wait till you see the studies. That's why you need to get on Facebook, get that, print that off, maybe polish it up, get it printed there, get a bunch of them printed off, give them to your people, pass them around. We're doing a lot of things. We have, of course, brochures on some of these, and we'll have it on the hydrogen too. We got it on the H bill and others, but we'll have it on the hydrogen. We'll have demonstrations with it and everything else. And here we are. The power that created the universe, the power from the sun that creates all life on earth is within you. And now we can super fortify it with you. And the other thing that's nice about the oxygen, it super oxygenates the water, and you actually can if you're depleted on oxygen, you can breathe pure oxygen, but actually oxygenated water, if there's a high enough concentration, which ours is, will replenish and hydrate the cells much better than just breathing in oxygen can do. So you can see I've talked fast and long, unfortunately, but I hope this gives you an idea. Why Sisel? Because why not? We're not like other companies, and do you want to be like other companies? No, we are the exception. There's no company like us anywhere on earth. And there probably never will be, because they're driven by different factors than I am. And it translates, you have the same feelings within yourself. You just need a track to run on. And then you can do the things you'd like to do that you'd never have an opportunity to because of big pharma, big medicine, corporate politics. You're the boss of your own business, and you're only restricted by how much you do. And if you do a lot, you get a lot. If you're little, you get little. It's just that simple. But the basic fundamentals there are spectacular in performance, easy to explain, but they take explanation. With the compensation plan is easy to qualify, and the payout is like an explosion. It's dynamic as it comes. So anyway, that's why Sisel for me. And I think it's why Sisel for you. You have the same feelings. You just needed a company like Sisel that is doing things the way that we're doing it, so you can become all that you want to be in your life in helping others to make their lives better. And my mission is dedicated to that. And I just gave up a promise here the other day because people were, what happens, and I heard it all the time, what happens to the company if something happens to you? And I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work till I'm at least 100. How's that for a commitment? And, you know, that's not tongue-in-cheek. If I live 100, my life will be short. I think I can take it way beyond there. At 100, 80 is under this thing with the H bill and TSX and brain vitality. 80 is the new 40, or 40. Yeah, it's the new 40. So you're going to look at that 100. How old are you going to be? 45. You know, biological. So your biological age and your chronological age can be very different. It all depends on how you clean up the body, you end the decay, and you increase regeneration and empower it. And our whole company is designed like this. And tell me who on planet Earth, including all pharmaceutical companies, is doing this? None but us. So that's my message for today. I'm going to turn time back to you, Doc. And again, my apologies for going almost twice as long as I should have.
No, Tom. I mean, we could sit here and I can tell you that I've been watching people jump on, and we've got more people listening now than when we started. So people here to hear you. They want to hear from the master. As we go through everything, I had jotted down all these questions. Asking you questions about what's the future, but you covered that. I was going to ask you questions about your conversation with Aubrey de Grey, but you covered that. Tom, I mean, the way that you think, it's so nice because you package it up for people in a way that they can take this presentation now and they can share with other people. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. And I appreciate you when you come out and go hunting with me, because you're such a poor shot. It makes it easy for me to be.
You saw that big deer I got. Let's not kid around. But folks, as you're listening to this, you don't have to become a scientist. We've got brochures on products, right? If you go to the skincare brochure, look at that. I'll put that in front of them. There's me, right? And you can show people this brochure right here, and they can go to their house and they can find out how safe is their house. They can do a checkoff list like this, and they can find all the products that are harmful. And then we've got a tool like this, the first 48 hours, and it tells you how to go back and get your money back and start making an income. And really, you're going to want to be on all the products. You're going to want to be on all the products. And the only way to do that is to build a successful business. So Tom, thank you again. I appreciate it, taking time on your Friday night and being here with us. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night. Get this out to people. Comment. Tell us where you're from. Give us a thumbs up. Give the old smiley face, the heart.
And get your rear end gear.
And like Tom said, get your rear end gear. All right. Thanks, everyone.